Before we begin, we want to let you know that this episode includes discussion about suicide and mental health. These are sensitive topics, and we'll be approaching them with care and compassion. If you are struggling, you are not alone. If you're in the United States, you can dial or text 988 to connect with the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. It's available 24/7. If you're outside the United States, you can visit findahelpline.com to be connected with support in your region. Please take care of yourself as you listen. Today we have a special guest, Betty Van Turnout from Heartbeat Survivors After Suicide, a local organization here that is based in Colorado Springs that has actually become international. Now, you two have known each other for quite some time, right? So, what is the connection between the two of you?
Years ago when we were called to Colorado Springs to pastor a church. When the church had a parsonage, when we pulled up, there was a group of individuals from the church waiting for us to unload our moving van into our parsonage. And so me being the introvert was so excited to see all these people waiting to meet me. Um, but I did okay. With you?
You did great.
Yeah, you did great. And so Betty was a part of the church.
Okay.
And we just kind of hit it off.
Did.
And then Betty and her husband became a safe place for us when pastoring wasn't as fun. And what I appreciated most about Betty is that she would take me out to eat and not ask me for anything, which is a huge thing if you're a pastor. You know, when people say, "Hey, can we go have coffee?" You always know they want something. They want something changed. They don't like what you said. It's too cold. The music's too loud. There's going to be something on the table.
You're bracing for absolute criticism of something. Yeah.
Yeah. So Betty asked me for coffee. And I was like, okay. And I went, and I think by the end of it, I was like, is that it? I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop, and it never dropped. And then, and that's when I said, okay, friend for life, right there.
Yeah. Nice.
So that's how it happened.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Definitely.
Tell us who your son Ryan was. Tell us about Ryan and what happened.
Ryan was our firstborn. He was born in West Texas. And funny little side note, my mom passed away the same day that Ryan was born. So it was a big day in our family. But he was the sweetest, kindest little redhead boy you would ever meet in your life. And he loved people. He would do anything for anyone at any time. And he just adored people. But life was hard for him. He had a learning disability, and so he struggled a lot. And life was hard for him. He was never diagnosed with any mental health issues. And then one day, July 10th of 2014, due to whatever situation was laying heavy on his heart that day, Ryan made the decision to end his life. And that is when our journey into the fire started. So it's been 11 years for us now.
Thank you for coming and speaking with us today and sharing your story and what you've learned through the fire, I guess is that's a really apt way to describe it. So for people who have never been through this before, what did you feel in those initial days after Ryan died, and how did you get through those first days and weeks?
Yeah. So many words come to mind of what I was feeling. I was in disbelief. I was in denial. I was in a place where I didn't know how I was going to take another breath. I didn't believe the sun was going to come up the next morning. I thought that all life had just ended for us. But it didn't. As we know, the sun did come up the next morning. And what got us through those initial days, first of all, I have to say, was my faith. My faith played a big role in this. And my family, my husband and my daughter that surrounded us at the time, and then our friends that came immediately and were there every day to say, what can we do? How can we help? Or they just came and sat in silence with us because we didn't have any words. There was nothing for us to say. That helped us get through those initial days. Support.
I think that's really important part to it for anybody that has to walk somebody through that. Your instinct is to be like, how are you? What can, you know what I mean? Ask all these things like, and then as soon as you say it, like, how are you? It's like, oh, wait, it's probably bad. And so maybe let me take that back. And I, just sitting in silence with you, and doing, and just trying to be there.
Yep.
But
Yep. Yeah.
yeah.
That is and our English language is so restrictive. When you tell somebody about your loss and, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And I understand that there are those that say, I hate that. I hate that you're telling me you're sorry. However, I realize that there really isn't anything else to say. So it works for me. It's, I appreciate the gesture that I'm sorry brings because they truly are.
Yeah.
And how are you? That is another phrase that people are afraid to use with someone because we don't really know how we are, but it's okay because it makes us reflect. How am I? How am I? And that's important. We have to feel all the feels, which is awful.
Right.
All the way from the lowest of the lows to that first giggle, to that first laugh. And then you're, why am I laughing?
Yeah.
And it's important. It's important to feel all the feels. It's the only way to get through a pain like this.
What sources of support did you find during those months of that first year or two after Ryan died that helped you?
Well, again, our friends, my workplace was amazingly supportive. Amazing. They were so gracious in anything I needed. And then we found Heartbeat, Survivors After Suicide. We attended our first meeting just 3 weeks after we lost Ryan.
Wow.
And it was so good. It did this mama's heart so good to see that there are others walking this journey that are ahead of me. And they completely understand what I'm going through. They've been through it, are going through it, but they're turning back and saying, let me help you through it. That was amazing. And that's why this organization is so important to me. Because as we walked into the fire, now my vision is I am out of the fire, but I'm now standing at the exit throwing water on those that are still coming out.
Yeah.
So that's how I like to see it.
Yeah. So tell us more about how did this organization, Heartbeat Survivors After Suicide, how did it start? Tell us more about that organization.
Well, it is a nonprofit that was started in 1980 by Loretta Archibald, who lost her son in 1978 to suicide. And as you can imagine, the stigma that there is today was magnified many more times over in 1978. And Loretta was a very determined lady that said, there has to be others, and I have to put a purpose to my grief. And so she started Heartbeat. And she got together with other people who had lost loved ones to suicide, and they just talk. We are not professionals. We are just people who've been there, and we just talk and say, yeah, I get it. I get it. And that is extremely helpful. So this organization has been around since 1980. And when Loretta decided it was time for her to retire and not be as fully invested, she asked Kevin and I to take over the running of the nonprofit, which we were honored to do so. And she passed away a couple of years ago. We miss her terribly, but we are still carrying on her legacy. An amazing lady of strength.
Yeah. So you just mentioned that there is a stigma around suicide. And so talk some more about that. What are some of the forms of stigma that you have experienced as a survivor of someone who you love has died by suicide?
Well, part of the stigma is, and one that really hurts my heart the most, is that somehow I was a bad parent. That somehow I did not provide Ryan the tools that he needed to stay on this earth. And that's not the truth at all. Another stigma is that, well, only people who die by suicide come from low income families, broken homes, parents who are drug addicts or alcoholics. And that's just not the case either. The first time I met Loretta, she was a beautifully put together lady with a beautiful family that, dare I use the word, that seemed normal to me, just as normal middle class, Cleaver family. And I thought, wow, well, if this can happen to her, it can happen to anybody. And so that was another one that a lot of people think that, well, they come from a different background. Well, that's not true at all. That's not true at all. Suicides happen in people who have the most money, and suicides happen in people who don't have a lot of money. So there's no barrier that keeps you safe from losing a loved one to suicide.
Mm. So often that's what I think ends up happening is that people are shocked by the news of something like that happening and they want to protect themselves and say, it's not going to happen to me. It won't happen to my family. And so they come up with these stories about why it happened to those other people. And it's not helpful, as you just explained, how that can blame the parents, blame the family, blame things that have nothing to do with it.
Streaming from the heart of the Rockies, this is Religious Rejects. Watch, listen, and join the discussion at religiousrejects.com.
We are in El Paso County, which is the county where Colorado Springs is, and we have some of the highest rates of suicide in the country. What have you learned about that, and what are some of the things that people are saying? What do we know about that at this point?
Well, we don't know a lot, but there are a lot of theories. A theory that we are a military town. And so people that are in a kind of a transient mode where they're here for just a couple years and then moving on, that could play a part in losing someone to suicide. The theory that I've heard that makes a lot of sense to me, but there's no scientific basis for it, is the fact that we live at an altitude and that our brains operate a little differently in this altitude to include thoughts of suicide, and that our mental health is not as good as someone at sea level. No scientific basis for this. It is just a theory that I've heard. So as many suicides as there are, you can come up with that number of reasons for a suicide loss.
Yeah. And the reality is that there's a lot that we still don't know about suicide and why people have suicidal ideation, how to prevent it, how to identify it in people, right? There's still so many things that they're just still studying and trying to understand better to help prevent deaths by suicide. You were part of Christine's church. How did this affect the larger community that you were a part of? What was that like in those, as you're thinking about those first days, weeks, and year or two after Ryan died? How was that for the larger community?
Um, by the time Ryan had passed, I had already been pushed out.
Okay.
I still had a remnant of people with me. I mean, I think because the majority of people knew how close we were, I got a lot of the questions. So there was a lot of texting to me, like, what's going on? What's this? And I was like, And I was telling Betty, I got very protective because I was like, none of you people were here to walk through this. I'm not giving you anything now. And I do think too, at the funeral, it's a lot of emotions too on that, the ripple effect. We talk about the ripple effect. And there's obviously the family gets hit the most, but then you have the people that are trying to support the family that also have to deal with their own anger, my own anger that Ryan did this to my best friend, like how, and then I had my guilt as being Ryan's pretty much his only pastor for the most part. I mean, so then I was like, what did I miss? What did I see? I officiated his wedding. I dedicated his first child. And all I could remember was in the days leading up, the last encounter that Ryan and I had was a heated debate over who was the better quarterback, Peyton Manning or Brett Favre. That was all I could remember. And I remember thinking, I annihilated him. And now, and it was like, oh my gosh. And then I'm beating myself up on top of all that. So it's really just a matter of like trying to get everybody through while also trying to grieve, or at least take my own grief and say, I'm putting this on the back table for right now because I don't have time. Which isn't good, to be fair. Because there are days I'm still mad, and I have to deal with that. And but then I try to remember the fun things, like Ryan and my son Teddy playing Legos together, and stuff like that. So that's kind of how it, as far as the church goes, I think we were kind of out of the church, and I was more resentful of the people that showed up from the church, because I was like, oh, what, you want to see something? Which is why I think I was so like, I will cut someone at the funeral. I'm just, go ahead, look at her wrong. I dare you. You know what I mean? So that was me. Those of us that had stayed together, that were still family, that still met on holidays and stuff, obviously, we just tried to build a wall around them.
So help me just clarify. So when you're saying this about the people who hadn't been there, so you're saying like you felt like it was kind of like people who are driving by an accident and slow down and want to see what happened or whatever. That you didn't feel like they had a real investment in you as people or whatever. It was like you felt like they were more interested in just the news part of it, or
A dirty detail.
dirty details.
I did feel that from some of the people that texted me, yes. And to be fair to the people that actually showed up to the funeral, I'll bet 3/4 of them were there just out of their love and respect. But I'm angry. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I'm filtering everything through my anger that I don't know what to do with. So it's a lot easier for me to blame all these people that I haven't seen in 2 years than to blame Ryan.
Yeah.
So so again, my fight instinct was probably not accurate. There probably wasn't any people really doing that. Maybe one or two. But you know, that's just where I like. Yeah.
I do think there is something about suicide, where people, I had a friend in my first year of seminary who died by suicide, and it's like there's this interest in details, in specifics. They want to, did they leave a note? How did they do it? All these kinds of things that are really, in a lot of ways, private for the family, or, and it's often a burden. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's a burden to even know those things, if you do know them, sometimes. And I just know that that can be that the persistent interest in the questions about the details and the specifics of things can feel intrusive sometimes in the immediate aftermath of the death. And if I
Sure can.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you.
And I think a lot of it is just the fear factor. They want the details so they can make sure that their loved ones are okay.
Yeah.
The thing about Ryan, if I can, it was a very atypical suicide. He didn't do the things that most people who die by suicide do that are technically warnings.
Mm.
So I think that factor scared us even more, and other people, because it was like, wait, what, Ryan? You know what I mean? What do you mean? The sweetest, most wonderful human being outside of his love for a certain quarterback? I mean, you know?
Anyway, I love that.
Can we keep
that? Yeah.
I still mad. Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was just kind of it didn't make sense. And I think that we want things to make sense. We want to understand everything. And we want all the details so that we can put that on our lives and say, okay, I'm okay because this. But there wasn't any of that with Ryan. So it was scary.
Yeah.
And so,
Yep. And I think that that's also, we warn people, we warn our survivors that your address book is going to change.
Mm.
Those that you thought were your closest friends may move out further out in your friend circle. And there's a lot of different reasons for that. However, I think a lot of it is fear. I don't want to be too close because that might happen to me. I don't know how to deal with you, so I'm going to step back here. 3 weeks later, 3 months later, are you over it yet? I can't tell you how many times we have people say that. Aren't you over it yet?
yeah.
Okay, really? So you only loved your child for 18 years and now you're not, we're done. Our relationship is done and we're over it. So no. Grief is just love turned inside out. So when people back away, it's typically because they're afraid of what they'd seen and they don't know how to deal with you. And those that maybe were on the outer perimeters of your friendship circle, they could very well move in. We had several people that moved out and we had several people that moved in. And we went, wow, didn't see that coming. Didn't see that coming. So we do warn people. Don't be surprised if this happens.
Yeah.
The person you think that you're going to turn to and share your heart with is going to go, yeah, okay, we're good. And don't be hurt by that because it's human nature. It's hard. We don't, as in our society, in my opinion, we do not know how to deal with grief well. We've not been taught how to deal with grief. We have workplaces that allow us to have 3 days off.
Right. Yeah.
3 days off.
3 days.
Right?
People don't even have funerals within 3 days of a death these days. A lot of times services are maybe a week or even a month or two later, sometimes 6 months later. So yeah, I mean,
You get 3 days off.
yeah.
So it's not. And our society has supported that.
Yeah.
And has said, okay, well, are you over it? Let's get back to normal. Whereas my normal doesn't look anything like what it did 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. And your normal's gone.
It is gone.
There is no normal.
No,
You have to carve a new one.
we do have to carve a new one.
And that's
Absolutely right. And that's part of the journey. Part of the journey. What I like to tell people is I want to help you weave your grief journey into your life journey. Because here I am a week out or a couple days out, I'm full blown grief journey.
Yeah.
Okay. But over time, we need to put that together with our life journey. We will always grieve, always grieve, but we have to find a way to incorporate it into our life and still move forward.
Yeah. That's I love that image. It's a beautiful image. Did things happen in your journey and your experience of Ryan's death that you wouldn't wish for other families and loved ones of people who have died by suicide? Can you share some of those things in the hopes that maybe that could perhaps not happen to other people?
Well, we were very fortunate in that we did have a lot of pure, true support. When there were people that said, "Are you over it yet?" They were people kind of on the outer fringes that didn't really understand. And that's okay because the only way they're going to understand is to have jumped in the pond that I've just been thrown into.
Yeah.
That's the only way they're going to understand. And so we try to encourage people when we're in this pond and I'm helping you to float rather than sink. Not only do we need to give ourselves grace as we go through this, but we have to give others grace because they don't understand. And I don't want them to understand. I don't want them to have to walk this journey. If there were from today on no more suicides, I would be so happy. But that's not the fact. And so we just encourage people to give them grace. If they're saying something that's making them uncomfortable and they feel that they either need to turn and walk away, which is totally fine, or let that person know, look, what you said was hurtful to me, and this is why. We don't, those of us on the survivor side prefer not to use the word commit because that implies a criminal act has been done. They've committed murder. They've committed burglary, aggravated assault, whatever the case might be. They did not. Okay. They died of a brain injury, of just like cancer. Nobody committed cancer. So we try to instruct people to change their verbiage. Died by suicide, took their own life, suicided, other terminology. So we try to let people know that you're going to come across this. I got a sympathy card from someone and in it said, "I know just how you feel. I just recently lost my dog." And I was like, wow, okay. I realize I'm a pet lover.
Yeah.
However, it's a little different. But I gave them grace. I didn't send off a scathing note. Or,
I did. No, just kidding. Because Christine was there.
Right.
Was like, give me your.
That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So we were blessed and we didn't personally come across anything that kind of set us back. There are some instances, our first time out away from our house, we went to Lina Christie's house for a barbecue and they had some pastor friends of theirs from out of state there. Very sweet couple. And of course, the natural question is, do you have children? How many children do you have? And we weren't even a month out. And Kevin and I kind of looked at each other and went, well, and I'm sure that that poor couple was thinking, they don't know how many children they have. So those are things that you come across that you never thought you'd ever have to think about what that answer is. And so we let people know that that's something you got to think about. And for us, it depends on the situation. Of course, being 11 years out, it feels a little different, but it still depends on the situation. If I'm seeing you in the grocery store and I haven't seen you in a long time, and how are your kids? And, I'm just not going to bring it up. I'm just going to say, you know what? Kirsten's great. It's, we're good. If we're at a party, I don't want to be the Debbie Downer at a party. But if we're having a personal conversation with someone, then absolutely I will let them know. Do I hide the fact that Ryan died by suicide? Absolutely not. Because his loss, it's my prayer that his loss will save someone else just by hearing my story and them go, you know what? I don't want to put my parents through that.
Yeah.
So we're an open book.
That's so powerful. That's so powerful. Many times after someone dies by suicide, their loved ones are left wondering why. And Loretta Archibald wrote a book, Finding Peace Without All the Pieces, after a loved one's suicide. And Betty is lending that to me. And she talks about the obsessive review, thinking about those last moments with your loved one. And you even talked about it, the last conversation you had was about your favorite, who was the best quarterback. And so for those who are dealing with this and it might be really fresh for them, what do you say to those people who are in that place of really, it's got to be just so
Overwhelming.
overwhelming. Yeah, great word. Yeah, I couldn't come up with a word fast enough, but overwhelming. Yes.
Yeah.
What do you say to people?
It's part of the process. It's part of the journey. As much as we grieve over it, and as much as I hate to have to think through Ryan's steps on that last day of his life or the whys, it's part of the process. It's part of the grief journey. Now, there does come a point in time, and it's going to be different for everybody, that why will no longer matter. As Kevin put it one time, he said, if Ryan were to come back and stand in front of me and say, Dad, this is why, it would never be good enough. It would never be good enough because I'd want to say, well, we could have done this.
Yeah.
Or so, but searching for the why, seeking the why, it's part of the journey. It's part of the journey. Now, some people get notes that are left. Some people know because their loved one has had some mental health issues and maybe have made prior attempts. But for those of us in what we call a situational suicide, we are left with a whole lot of whys and a whole lot of unanswered stuff. And it's normal. You're going to ask the whys, but don't beat yourself up over it. Okay. At some point in time, you're just going to be at peace with that. Okay. I just won't know on this side of heaven. I just won't know.
Yeah. Our podcast is called Religious Rejects, as anyone who's here should know, probably. And we explore the ways that religious communities reject people. And so I'd really like to kind of explore some of these things that you might have encountered from other Christians or that you've seen people have to deal with in their own journeys that are not helpful and supportive after a death by suicide. And in Loretta's book, again, Finding Peace Without All the Pieces, when she talks about what happens after her son Kent died, she had two pastors who came and were not willing to be a support to the family because the son had died by suicide. Now, granted, that was in 1978, and yet, even today, there are pastors who will have nothing to do with it, right? So what are some of the things that either you've experienced or you've seen other people have to deal with when you think about a Christian, quote unquote, Christian response to a death by suicide?
Yeah. So even today, my husband's parents will not refer to Ryan's death as a suicide. And they're Catholic. And they're older, came from the old school Catholicism liturgy. when someone dies by suicide, it is not a spiritual matter. It's a health matter. It's a mental health matter. It shouldn't live in the spiritual realm at all. And I thoroughly believe that a loving God, although he grieves, and I use the term he just simply because that's what I'm comfortable and used to using, that he grieves someone that takes their life, but he welcomes them if they know Jesus, and if the fact that that suicide was deemed a sin, a mortal sin, was not deemed by God, and it is not in the Bible. It was deemed by a man that, and there were very specific reasons at that time why they needed to stop suicides from happening. So they came out and said, okay, it's a mortal sin. You can't take your own life. And if you do, we're going to put your family in prison and we're going to seize all your assets.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. So it was mandated by man.
And who was this charmer that did this?
Well, I refer to him as the hippo.
We've talked about the hippo before, huh?
Yes. So, yes. So there actually were a couple. There were a couple of men that came through, and one came behind Sir Hippo and says, and he also agreed that. But it was just like someone having to choose their best lamb and slaughter the lamb in order to atone for their family's sins. It was something that needed to happen at the time. That's not so anymore. That's not the case. We don't have young men taking their lives because they don't want to go off to war or whatever the case might be. Now, I mean, I'm not saying that doesn't happen. I'm just saying we're not losing them in droves.
Yeah.
That was mandated at a time when maybe it was necessary. I don't know. I didn't live back then.
Right.
But now it's not.
And so, just to be clear, so you're talking about what people call Augustine of Hippo, St. Augustine, Augustine, whoever it is, who lived in like the 4th century after Christ. So generations, centuries ago, a long time ago, and yet we still deal with it. We still deal with it. It's still taught in the Catholic Church, yeah, that they can't be buried in holy ground, right? Now they're buried outside of a cemetery, which is creates another stigma.
Yes.
It's a whole other level of stigma. Yeah.
Fortunately, the Catholic Church has changed their position
Yes.
on that over time. It took a very long time. It's been in our lifetime that was changed.
Vatican II. All kinds of good stuff happened at Vatican II.
So that has changed. However,
Were you alive during Vatican II? That was like that was in the 60s. I don't think you
this was 1962.
Yeah, I was close.
Okay.
I also, how old are you?
25.
Yeah.
I was like, I thought Vatican II was like in the 60s. Anyway, sorry, just, yeah.
Yeah, it was 1962.
Yeah,
And the Catholic Church finally said, no,
Yeah.
we're not going to go with this. Unfortunately, there are still people alive that were part of that religion or that group prior to. And so they still hold those old ideals and those beliefs. And I encourage people, study your Bible. Study your Bible. Find me where it says this is a sin.
I believe most people would probably point to the whole, like, thou shalt not murder, and then I shall that I am.
Yeah.
Which,
Yeah, at this point in time in my life, that's not important to me.
exactly.
God has been gracious enough to reveal to me that my son is safe and happy and with him. So I'm not gonna, that's not gonna be my ride or die. I'm not gonna live by that.
Do you mind sharing, if you feel comfortable doing that, what happened that helped you have that sense of peace and that knowledge?
Couple of things. About a month to 6 weeks after I lost Ryan, I have a very sweet friend that we've been best friends since kindergarten. So we know each other very well. And she is a beautiful Christian woman and has been for a lot of years. She came out to Colorado to see me, and she said, I have something I want to share with you. And while she was praying in church, she said, God gave me a vision of Ryan entering heaven. And so I appreciated that very much. Very, very much. Well, move forward several years. I had a dream where my husband and my daughter and I went to visit Ryan in his new place. And he was so happy to see us. And come in, come in. And he was showing us things on his wall. And I would say, oh my gosh, that's beautiful. Where did you get that? And he would say, oh, my friend so-and-so said that to me.
No.
And he was so happy. And he said, I love it here, Mom. I love it here. And I said, well, I am so thrilled that you are happy and loving life. And he said, but I know that you can't stay with me. You have to go back home, which I already knew that in my dream. And so we hugged him, and then the three of us headed out and left.
Oh.
And so I knew that that was Ryan saying, I'm okay. I'm okay. So God was gracious enough to give that to me. And I love that and hold on to that.
Yeah,
Hold on to that.
that's beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you.
We have started a Patreon account for those who would like to support the podcast, Religious Rejects. And so we have a question from one of our supporters, John Osborne. Actually, I have two questions from him. He wrote, platitudes like God needed another angel or everything happens for a reason can sting. What words or silences or rituals have actually brought you comfort? And what language would you invite Christians to never again say to someone?
Well, what we just talked about. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that your son will never see heaven.
Yes.
Okay, don't ever tell me that because those are fighting words.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just the words of someone sharing, not necessarily about that, God needed a new whatever you or to another, yeah, or whatever.
Yeah.
However, the fact that God is with me. God is with me in my pain. He is there to comfort you. I know he's surrounding you with his love. Those are very good words. I had someone tell me that, wow, you are now part of a very special club. And I said, okay, yeah, I realize that, but what kind of club are you talking about? And he said, you completely understand God's pain when he lost his son, when his son had to die. And I went, wow, yeah, yeah. And that brought me a measure of comfort. Really did. But just to acknowledge that Jesus is surrounding me and holding me close and my family close and is grieving with us. You know, he's a God of love. He is our Abba Father, and he knows how badly this hurts, and he's walking with me. Those are good words. Those are good words to share with a beautiful Christian person that will understand where that's coming from.
Another question from John is, survivors often blame their own faith in that they might say to themselves, if I had prayed harder, if I had believed more, if I had acted sooner, how would you gently unhook them from that shame? And what truer picture of God would you offer instead of that?
The best answer I can give to that is my own vision of when Ryan was holding that was struggling with whether to live or die. Okay. I know in my heart that Satan was there, and Satan was telling him, do it. Nobody loves you. Nobody's going to miss you. Just do it. But I also know that Jesus was in his room as well, saying, oh, my son, I don't like this. My heart hurts for you. And then once Ryan is convinced of Satan's truth and dies by suicide, I know that Jesus is also there to say, come on home. Come on home.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the best answer I got for that, is that's kind of how I see that battle of Satan saying, because Satan came to steal, kill, and destroy. And boy, did he steal, kill, and destroy a lot of our family at that point in time.
Yeah.
But he may have won the battle. Am I saying this right? He may have won the battle, but God won the war. God won the war. Yeah. And it's okay. God's shoulders are big enough to say, I'm angry at you. Why did you allow this to happen? We live in a fallen world. We live with pain. And it's just where we are on this earth. But God is going to take it and he's going to turn it for good. And you know what? We've been so blessed over the years to meet people that have walked this journey and have said, I'm so glad you're here for us. And that blesses me so much for them to recognize that all I want to do is love. That's all I want to do. Yeah. So that's how I would answer that question. I hope that works for him.
Yeah. So tell us more about your organization, Heartbeat Survivors After Suicide. What does it do, and what does it offer people who are reeling from the effects of a suicide of a loved one?
Right. So we are a peer support group. Okay. It originated in Colorado Springs. We meet monthly, in person. We have met in person since 1980, monthly. We get together and we just talk about the stuff that comes with this journey that other people don't understand. And it's so helpful to hear that there are others who have walked before. And if I'm only 3 weeks out from my journey and I'm looking at you and you're 11 years out and you're still standing, wow, that's a testament. That's a testament, and that's going to help me immensely. Does that mean that I'm still not going to have bumps in the road? Absolutely not. During COVID, we moved to a Zoom platform, and we ended up with some people that didn't live here in Colorado Springs. So when we started meeting in person again, we kept the Zoom option open. So we have a monthly Zoom meeting, and we now have people from all across the world join us. We only have a couple of stipulations. You have to be 18 or older, and you have to have lost a loved one to suicide. Doesn't matter the time, doesn't matter the relationship, it doesn't matter. But we are very protective of our survivors. We don't allow onlookers, so to speak, or grad students who want to write a thesis on grief, or we don't allow that. We don't allow that. So we are a peer support group. Now, Kevin and I have taken a lot of classes and courses over the years to learn how best to deal, A, with someone who's grieving from suicide, and B, to deal with someone who might be suicidal. Okay, because those are people that we come across.
Yeah.
So we have taken classes and courses and gotten certifications on those things. Are we mental health therapists? enough. We are not. And we encourage people to seek out professional therapy if they feel that they could benefit from it. We work in parallel with a professional therapist.
I'd like to point out, though, even though you are a woman of faith and you believe very strongly about, um, you know, Jesus and God helping you through it, which is absolutely true. Heartbeat is open for anybody.
Absolutely.
You do not have to be quote unquote Christian in order to attend these groups. And nor do you have to be somebody that should be fearful of
No.
people with, religious kind of baggage that might want to come. So you have been able to minister to a lot of people outside of your kind of faith tradition.
We have. Yeah.
How has that been for you?
You know what? It's being a young gal that was born and raised in a little Midwest town and not exposed to anything outside of what society deems the norm, I guess. I have been so blessed to get to know people that maybe don't think or live their lives the same way I do. And a lot of people will say, well, as a Christian, how can you do that? Minister to someone who maybe is a Buddhist or is transgender or whatever the case might be. I said, well, it's pretty simple. When I started on this journey, my prayer went the journey of leading Heartbeat.
Yes.
My prayer to God was, God, you have to show me. You have to show me how to do this because I'm coming from no knowledge whatsoever, none. And he said to me very clearly, all I want you to do is love. That's all I'm asking of you. Just love.
Gee,
Don't even
write that down.
Don't worry what other people are coming to you with or whatever the case might be. You just love. So we are not faith-based. We are open to anyone. And I'm going to love you, period. No matter your background, no matter the baggage that you bring, we're just going to love you.
Healing hearts and restoring hope. Learn more today by visiting heartbeatsurvivorsaftersuicide.org.
Where you are today on your journey through the fire and having been through what you've been through in your journey and the ways that you're supporting people today, what are your final thoughts that you'd like to leave with people?
I would like everyone to hear the word communicate. Please communicate with your family members. Please be honest and open, and please allow a safe space within your family and your friends that they can be open about how they really are feeling. In this world, we come across people walking down the hallway at work maybe and go, hey, how's it going? And we go, oh, good. And we just keep right on going. I want it to be more intentional. I want it to be more, how's it going? I want to look you in the eye and I want to know, how's it going? And I want my heart to be a safe space for that person to give me an honest and open answer. So I encourage others.
That's beautiful. I want to thank you so much for being here today again, Betty. This has been such an honor to have you here. I'm so grateful. Thank you for sharing your story with us. And thank you for all the ways that you are helping so many people as they're going through their own fire and their own grief journeys. Again, Betty Van Turnout, who is the Executive Director of Heartbeat Survivors After Suicide. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you both.
Thank you, friend.
Thanks for tuning in. Up next, will the rejects keep, rethink, or reject today's topic? Stay with us.
After hearing Betty and all of the things that she went through, what do you feel like you want to rethink or reject today?
What really struck me was when she said that the issue of suicide is not a spiritual matter. And she said it's a health matter. And I thought that was really powerful. And that goes along with my own belief that nothing and no one can separate us from the love of God, that no matter what, God loves us just as we are, and God is with us through the most difficult times.
Mm-hmm. And I think too, just rethinking that a God of love. And I had never heard that dream before that she said she had. At least if I did, I didn't listen well. But I love the idea that, as broken as somebody is, to get to that moment where they just want out and they want to take their life, that God is still there with them in it and welcoming them. And so this idea that somehow if somebody has taken their life, they have caused a great sin against God, I reject that out of hand. And I am grateful for people's experiences and their dreams and how God speaks to them over what it may say in the Bible. For me, I'm gonna go with somebody's experience of love every time over what seems like condemnation from the Bible.
Betty pointed out that suicide is not addressed in the Bible in any way like that. And it's really church doctrine and practice that has been the issue that has contributed to the stigma that loved ones who have died by suicide have to deal with. So yeah, I think it's a really important thing to rethink.
Agreed. From all of us at Religious Rejects, please take care of yourself and take care of each other.